Hydraulic fracturing is booming in eastern Ohio. More than 1,000 drilling permits have already been issued for well sites, but there aren't enough pipelines and processing facilities to handle the production.
All this infrastructure has to be built. So they're now in a race to keep ahead of the drilling activity and put the infrastructure in place. There's many hundreds of wells right now that have been completed and ready to go in the Utica Shale that are waiting for processing.
The processing facilities are now popping up steadily, but some citizens are upset the plants are opening near homes within their quiet communities.
We moved out here to get away from things like that. We can't move into an industrial zone, but these industries can move into our neighborhoods, without any notice, without any... It's incredible. It's incredible.
Patty Gorchev heard rumors of a plant going in near the Ohio and Pennsylvania state line, but says when she started calling government officials, she couldn't get any information.
No one would tell me anything about where this plant was, any of the above.
She's concerned about air pollution from the Hickory Bend cryogenic processing plant, which was constructed at the state border with Pennsylvania in Mahoning County. Just over the Ohio line, farmer Maggie Henry is concerned too.
Look at the way the wind's blowing. I'm directly downwind of that plant. And that's just the way the wind stream goes. And it's going to blow right here. And I tried contacting DEP about it, and they tell me it's in Ohio. Well, it's like 20 feet in Ohio. You're keeping that pollution in Ohio?
Henry also opposed putting a pipeline through her property and says her neighbors have retaliated.
They've thrown bricks through my windows and put nails in my driveway. Yeah, nice neighbors.
The manager of the Hickory Bend plant says the company wants to be a good neighbor and spread awareness about what they do.
This facility is very environmental friendly. We're not using heaters and burning fuel. This is using energy that's naturally created, that's really not cost inducive, but it's going that extra mile to be all we can be.
After fracking, processing facilities separate the liquids and gases from the byproduct to prepare the natural gas for market.
The way we separate the gas components is by reducing pressures and cold temperatures. The top of that tower will run about a minus 150 to 155 degrees. The bottom of the tower will run about 75 degrees. The top methane will come out the top. Your ethanes and propanes and butanes and your C6 plus, all your different components of the gas will turn to a liquid, and it will come down the tower. And you've got two streams in that tower. You've got a vapor phase with everything going up, which is your methane, and you're trying to keep everything a liquid to go down to the bottom, and that's how we separate the different components, your methane, away from the rest of the components of the gas.
The Ohio Environmental Protection Agency has issued an air permit for this plant and others and says they are considered small to medium sources of emissions.
We want to make sure that a new facility going in is not going to have high enough emissions to cause problems for the citizen nearby or cause any health or welfare type issues. So if it goes through our process, we don't think there's going to be any kind of health issue associated with it.
Before the air permit was issued for this plant, Gorchev asked for a public hearing and says the Ohio EPA told her it wasn't required for a minor source of air emissions. She has since filed an appeal of the permit, which the Ohio EPA would not discuss, citing legal reasons. As these plants are developing across the region, residents are organizing grassroots groups to keep an eye on the industry.
This started for me when I attended an oil and gas meeting, because I was one of those people, drill here, drill baby drill. So I asked a question at the meeting. I said, for the people who may not be interested in leasing their mineral rights, what happens? And the gentleman from Chesapeake said, we'll take it from you anyways. So from that point on, and that's when the gentleman from ODNR stepped up and said, yes, mandatory pooling and unitization. From that point on, it changed my whole perspective.
Ed Hashbarger is part of Jefferson County Citizens for Environmental Truth, a group of both liberals and conservatives who say they are unhappy with the way the industry conducts its business.
In our area, we became aware of a pipeline project that was coming through our community. and a compressor station in particular that was going to be sited within 1,500 feet of our home. And we had some obvious concern about that, and just ran into a real, what I would call, lack of transparency from the industry in general.
Their group doesn't expect fracking to go away, but wants to be aware of what's going on near their homes.
My hope is that we are able to engage the industry, to encourage them to be more transparent with the citizens, because this industry is woven through the fabric of our lives here, you know. And because of that, I think it's especially important that those of us living next to facilities like this now have as deep an understanding as we can.
Industry and state officials say they understand citizens may have concerns about this developing in their communities.
I think when you learn more about this and more about the process, your concern about what's going in drops. You're not as worried about it because you found out that, well, really this isn't a lot of air emission, and from a health standpoint, we're not going to see any kind of health issues associated with it.
I think with any fast-moving industry, you're always going to have concerns come at that level, and I think they're justified concerns. That, you know, people that live in and around this stuff, and they're primarily in rural areas, they want to see the economic benefits. They're very happy to see that flow into their individual counties, most of which have been depressed for a long, long time. But they want to make sure that they're done correctly and that they benefit economically as well. I think all those are justified concerns. If the folks in those counties want to see that economic development happen, this is part of that process, otherwise it won't go forward.